Welcome to Metaphysical Hippie Chicks 2.0. I'm Susanna Masseri, psychic medium and author of Living Beyond Death. My co-hosts are psychic medium Annalisa Bastiani and ET experiencer Terry Scalia. We focus on grounded, honest conversations about consciousness, mediumship, channeling, ETs, psychology, and modern spiritual culture. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Returning to the show is Barbara With, author, international speaker, and creator of Conflict Revolution. Through her books, workshops, and channeling work, Barbara reminds us that the conflicts we see in the world often reflect those within ourselves, and that lasting change begins with self-awareness. Today, she'll share more of her extraordinary journey and invite us into a unique conversation by channeling The Party as we explore some of life's deepest mysteries. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back. Remember, the first time was so much fun.
I know. We had a great time.
And do more.
Would you go into, again, the party and how this all came about and the group that you started channeling and getting information from?
Yeah, very briefly. I started out as a songwriter, and then I discovered I could channel. And back then, in the very beginning, I had a mentor who was also a channel, so I knew what it was. But when I asked the first time that I was exposed, I was told they were sound. And then when I started doing group channeling with my group, the Psychic Sorority, we wanted to know what they would say. And so we organized these groups in our living rooms and recorded them and transcribed them. And when Kim and Teresa asked, "Who are you?" they said, "You can call us angels." So that was like another door that opened. Like, what does that mean? And then later, when we published our first book, Diaries of a Psychic Sorority, and I was offered an opportunity to do an interview from beyond the grave with Princess Di on the 1-year anniversary of her death, that was like another door that sort of opened as to what's going on in this unseen world that I'm being introduced to. And she led me to the Party of 12. And they said they were 12 famous dead people working in the afterlife for world peace, to help us get world peace. And it really was instigated by Einstein when he died. Also, Jesus Christ is in the party. And there are actually 12 people who in real life were peace activists and in some way, influencers, what have you. So that's how it became the party. But as time has gone on and I've learned the extent of my mission, quote unquote, and my gift, I perceive this force as kind of the greater good, the great gestalt, the Akashic records, any of those kinds of collective voices of the divine that come through me, but they're anchored in that original party. But the party has gotten so big through the many years as people have passed on and shown up at the party and shown myself to me. And so I think if someone were to come and say, "I need to talk to Albert Einstein," we could pull him out of the crowd. But I think the voice that is the voice of we is strongly influenced by him, but is really the voice of the greatest good. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like us gathering, and we are, as humans, committed to being these spiritually growing, evolving creatures. We've made the choice that we're going to be this energy of creatures. And consequently, when we gather and do this, we generate like this synergy, right? That bigger than just the two of us or the three of us could ever do. And I think it works that way in afterlife too.
Now, do the members, since it grows, do members come and go, or does it just get larger?
Well, Einstein has this funny saying he used early on. I think once when we were like looking up, asking our question, like, "Can you please help us?" And he's like, "Why are you looking up?" We're like, "Well, I don't know, because we've been taught to look up." But the other one was, there's really nowhere to go, right? Here we are in physical life. When we walk on from our bodies and we get into afterlife, we're all kind of there. And I don't know, it's a mystery, right? At its root, we have to admit nobody really knows, but if we're going to speculate, I think we're drawn to people who have the same intentions and goals, and people come and go, people come to learn. I know that my nephew, God bless him, rest in peace, he was taken from us many years ago, and when he showed up through the years in afterlife, was evolving. You know, he was suddenly showing up as this sort of very large, kind of almost a priest-like figure as he was reaching his unification from that whole experience of life and death in there. So, yeah, people come and go, but the core of the voice really has never changed for me since when I started channeling, or even since the voice of my mentor.
Last time, did you mention John Lennon? Is he maybe part of the group?
I'm sure that they're all in the periphery of, what is it, the 6 degrees of separation. And first of all, because whoever hatched up this plan as dead people, right, to do this, to get this group together and to try to translate something, if we could tell you what we know now, it's pretty brilliant. And I think with all of the connections, I'm really not 6 degrees of separation from John Lennon in life. I think I myself have met Oprah, so I feel like I'm only 1 degree of separation from most of the rest of the planet.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And now we are too.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're only 2 degrees. So if you think of it that way, who isn't here? Who isn't somebody like John and Yoko, who were absolutely committed to peace in the best way that they could do? So I think that's sort of the prerequisite of who is attracted and comes and goes, are those who want to make a difference, like reach beyond the grave and somehow influence the planet to be saved or better or evolved or what have you.
Is it close to maybe a collective?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question. So when they give messages, is it coming from one individual person or is it coming through as a collective?
I think most of the time it's a collective. There are times, very specifically, for example, when I first sat down in public after I'd published the book Party of 12, The Afterlife Interviews, I still kind of cloaked myself under the covers of angels. They're angels, because I was very nervous about coming out and saying, well, we're talking to Marilyn Monroe and John Lennon or John F. Kennedy and Albert Einstein. That made me very uncomfortable because what does that mean? But when I did that very first one, which was about 25 years ago, then they showed up, identified. Sometimes they will, or sometimes people will have a very specific question for someone. Can I ask Carl Jung, about the aspects? And then most of the time, I mean, when we were doing Party of 12 and my agent and I had this long list of famous dead people we wanted to talk to, some of them said no. Elvis said no. Gandhi said no. Mother Teresa said no. But now looking back, apparently they were organizing it in afterlife. So we had all these people and they're like, no, not us. And Einstein wasn't even on the list. So yeah. But I think for the most part, when you come for a reading, unless you're specifically looking for someone specifically, and even then, I think we get the voice of the collective, greatest good consciousness.
Yeah, that's the best messages as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah.
And you'll know them by their fruits, as we say.
Is Marilyn part of the collective? Cool.
Yeah, she was very, very, all of them when I did the original interviews and didn't know. I mean, I knew about Marilyn Monroe and Norma Jean Baker, but I didn't know a lot in personal life and all the details of that, and a lot of insightful information.
Last time when you were on the show, you did talk about Princess Diana, and I think you gave us a little bit of information, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Can you refresh my memory? I think you talked about the accident and what happened with the accident.
Well, she did. She went into kind of a detail about being at dinner with Dodie, and that their conversation was, he was so in love with her and wanted to worship her. And of course, he was a man's man. And she was done with royalty and being worshipped and all of that world. Mm-hmm. And so they were having this conversation about that, and that she wasn't going to give in. But they came to this compromise where she would accept that he had those feelings for her, but she was still going to be her independent self. And so when they left the restaurant and the paparazzi were there, she was saying that there's this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, maybe a headiness that you get when you're famous. And you get these weird ideas like, well, we'll just outrun them. And no, you don't. So when she had the crash and she originally left her body, was met by her angel and said, oh, no, I'm not going anywhere. And they brought her back to her body to show her what was going on. And the press were there when she was still alive and had come back. And then she left. And of course, her first and always concern is her children, and leaving her children behind, and talked about her children and how they were going to grow up. Harry was going to be more like her and William was going to be more like him. And so, yeah, she had a lot of that. But her real message, which now she was the first interview. So we had no idea that there were 11 other famous dead people behind her. And she basically said that everyone quit worshiping famous people. Everybody's a star in heaven. Everybody's a star in heaven. And if everybody who put flowers on the palace after she died would do the work that the angels came to teach the psychic sorority to teach the world, then we'd have world peace in a day. And that her work in afterlife, aside from being with her children, was going to continue to be with peace on an international level.
She's such a beautiful soul. Oh my gosh.
Classy.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. One in a million.
Yes.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, it was just an accident.
That's what she says. I don't doubt that the palace had stuff after her. But from what she said, Dodie's father, who was very influential, was all for it. So whoever would have been plotting would probably been on the royal palace side, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Shall we
Yes.
open the road?
Here we go.
All right. I'm going to just close my eyes. We'll do a little invocation, and they'll introduce and set it up and invite you guys to ask questions, and then ask away.
Okay.
So if you guys could just mute yourselves until the questions come up, that would be super helpful too for me. Let's all settle in and just for a second close our eyes, turn inward, take a few deep breaths and exhale and let go and relax. Feel your body, your skin. Feel yourself sitting in your chair there, wherever you are in the lens of your world. And yet, come with me out into the heavens and let's look down on this beautiful, beautiful planet and feel your heart swelling up as you see the earth as our mother, our home, the garden. And so now we're in two places. We're out in the heavens looking down, and we're each in our bodies, in our different lenses. And as we're out in the heavens looking down and we can see our bodies, we can't really see them. We know they're there. And so let's add one more point to this vision and imagine the center of the earth and that is the source. So now we have this triangle of the center of the earth, the lens, and way out in the heavens, the observer. So we will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. It is such an honor to be with all of you today. And we assure you that this party also includes those souls and angels and ancestors who hang out with all of you. And you can imagine that there's a reason why the three of you have been brought together. You volunteered and were chosen to be together on this most miraculous journey of uncovering the truth of consciousness, of accessing the divine. And the three of you feel very much like you have been brought here onto this planet to be together at this time, to solidify this message, to have that synergy that three people who are aligned together to work for the greatest good can tap into. And that's what you're doing, and that's what you're teaching the world through demonstration. And what's so beautiful about the three of you in a group is that there is this very familiar essence that comes from you. You're not as if you're aliens. You're not as if you're royalty. You're not as if you're elite or somehow setting yourself above or beyond everyone else. You are all extraordinary, ordinary women who are willing to tap into your own extraordinary. And as much as the journey for all three of you has been a long one, each individually and then coming together, you've all come to a place where now you are able to accept this extraordinary, ordinary paradox as the most powerful place to be. Of course you want to evolve, develop your natural talents and powers of manifestation and intention and compassion. Of course you want to do that. And you know the only way to do it is to be human. And at the root of all that is a giant mystery that you will never, ever solve. And so before we open for any questions and conversations you want to have, let's bring that into our consciousness together. Let's bring that truth that at the root of all creation, it's a glorious mystery. And we can hear all of the ego intellectual minds saying, no, we must figure it out. No, it must have a solution. And it's this very dichotomy that how evolution happens is when you have the 0 point and you have infinity. And somewhere in between, humanity is created and is living souls having human experiences for the very purpose of aligning to compassion, of becoming the love. And that is done on this everyday human level. And so all of you are very good examples of souls who have come here, who are learning this so well and integrating it into your personal lives, not just thinking about it on a hillside, not just meditating about it in a class or in a seminar. You're using everything that you have to apply to all of the sometimes mundane details of your life, because as mundane as they are, is just as miraculous as they are. So we are happy to open for questions and conversation.
We have many conspiracy theories, especially when famous people die in unusual ways and sometimes very questionable ways. And whenever I've connected with someone that was famous here in this physical life, or have heard about someone, they rarely give information that will say yay or nay about conspiracy theories, leaving it to us to figure it out. Why? Why no answers?
Well, there are a few reasons. One is when you let go of your physical body and return to what we call the speed of light squared, where you're in afterlife, there is such a different experience of what it means to be consciousness. It's so detached from every detail of the life that was just lived. It doesn't mean that those details are not compiled in your consciousness, but it means you have a completely different experience of how you relate to them. And so what might have been very clear as in your physical life, when you get into afterlife, you can barely focus on it. Sort of like when you're up in the heavens looking down at the earth and you can look down at where you are, but you certainly can't see yourself. And along with that, there is the opportunity upon death to have a very instantaneous sort of remembering or understanding or realization that the system is so much bigger than your human mind could ever have comprehended. And what on earth might have been this incredible obsession for justice or peace, resolution of something like that, death that is unanswerable. When you go into afterlife, you see the whole operating system. So while you're in the body, you don't see all of the karmic threads that ran from the killer to the kill. You don't see how important it is for the people left behind to do their investigation, that the empowerment comes to them not through finding out the truth and having the world know the truth, but by seeking it. And in the end, if there's no definitive, it was Mr. Plum in the library with the candlestick, there's the challenge for you in how you're going to reconcile the event, especially if it doesn't appear that there's human justice. If somebody gets off with the crime or it's not prosecuted or it's not investigated, there's all kinds of judgments. But once you get in afterlife, not so much. There's still questions. There's still the need to continue to evolve and learn, put things together. But the nature of afterlife is so different. And oftentimes when you're there in afterlife and you see and feel and experience those left behind with their sorrow or their needs, their need for resolution, you're not quite so attached that they get resolution. You have a better understanding that their journey is really empowering for them. And there's a lot of karmic things that go on in these kinds of situations. It is literally a different world. And right now, your human side can't grasp it. But after you get to afterlife, you'll have a much better understanding, of course.
Yes, and listening to many near-death experience stories that once someone leaves their body and before they come back, they are completely detached from their body. They don't even know sometimes who that person is that's being resuscitated. Ladies, you have a question?
I have a question. Can you explain how we are able to live or have lives in the past, present, and future all at the same time? How does that work?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we can. To imagine, to understand that, you need to know the structure of the operating system. So as we said, the source of everything is in the center of the planet. And what that means is, literally in the center of the earth, you have what we call a compilation of consciousness. It's your particle. It's your personal particle. And it compiles your consciousness. And in that compilation of consciousness is all of the mathematics that are going to be needed for you to have a human experience then on the surface of the earth in the lens where your body is. as well as all of the mathematics that will create all of the other timelines. So, for example, here in July 2026, you are in this body, you have this DNA, you're dealing with this space-time. But at the root, in that center of the planet, in that compilation, is also the mathematics for another space-time body. Maybe it's in Greece in 900 AD, and it's a man, and it has a whole different set of purposes and covenants and reasons to be alive. But at the root, in that compilation, you are sharing that. So to be you, there's a gravitational wave that leaves the compilation and runs through the earth up to the center of the planet and bursts through to create your physical body. It's the lens. And you're projecting all of that mathematics into that lens and perceiving it with the physical body. And that gravitation wave continues on out to the edge of the Earth's electromagnetic field and gets caught up with that again. And you know the electromagnetic field of the Earth runs north to south. So now you're flowing up through the North Pole, and you're going back down into the center of the planet with that gravitational wave. And there's the black hole, there's the void within the Earth. But it goes back into your compilation. And then it begins again, and it spins, and you're that spinning string. So there's another string now for that life in Greece, but they're both originating in the center of the planet in your compilation. And that's why you here in this life can be feeling and sensing and perceiving the events of the life in Greece, because some of it slips up that gravitational wave going into 2026. And whether we can fully explain it or not, some of that you slips into that other life in Greece. And so they're all going on simultaneously in the operating system, but in the lens, that's where the time is. So 2026 is going on in that lens, 1100 is going on in that lens, and it all becomes one much bigger being, looking much more like a lotus flower, actually.
Let me expand on that just a little bit more, or add to that a little bit more. I recently had an experience where I was having visions of being another person, having another life in another place. And I immediately thought that I was sneaking in on one of my other lives and just seeing what was going on in that moment. Is that essentially what was going on there?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Very, very cool.
And remember that this life here in 2026, this was always the life meant to be the one where you came to all of these realizations. So the life in Greece didn't have this level of self-awareness and, of course, with the global consciousness that's expanding together with the synergy of that as well. So this is the life where you get to experience that. And as you heal this life, you heal those lives as well.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Can a past event be changed by reimagining it and changing the energy of it?
In some extent, yes, absolutely. So if you're talking about past events in this current life,
yes,
and you think about perhaps there was a traumatic incident, let's just say, that happened in childhood. You grew up with that pattern imprinted on your thinking, on your emotion, and then access to your intuition probably gets shut down as a result of that traumatization. And it's done so for the express purpose for you to find your power and write it again. And when you do that, you come to, say, an older time in life where you're learning that life is much bigger than it was when it happened. Life is much more expansive and complicated to you now than it was when it happened and as you were growing up. And you understand there's so many more things at play, and you begin to forgive, and you begin to look at what were the good things that came out of the trauma, because there's always the whole spectrum. And you get this fuller, deeper, richer appreciation for that trauma. you're turning it into the greater good in your consciousness. You're embracing the gratitude of the divineness of even the worst of humanity. And this is the evolution of human consciousness. So how that changes is that when you're that young person going through that trauma, it's as if your future self is an angel. And the future self, who is having these grand, expansive visions of the truth of consciousness, is doing that. Your whatever, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old who's being traumatized has access to this divine place that you're creating for yourself now. And that gives that child hope. And if you're talking also about a very advanced form of this, let's say you're talking about a past life that's been bleeding through and it doesn't make sense to you in this life. Maybe you weren't ever threatened by drowning, say, but there's some huge past life where you drowned. The more that you heal your own self in this life by using the detachment and also honoring it, it's like, how do you heal from death? How do you heal from the trauma of a suicide? This is a theoretical spiritual questions that you do for yourself. But that past life, as you heal, it is given the opportunity to work out a different potential based on this higher energy that's being put into the entire system, the whole operating system. So maybe the trauma doesn't happen. Maybe a different potential plays out where the person who traumatized you comes into their life with more awareness and self-love themselves, and so they don't perpetuate the trauma. And then that changes everything. So you see, just by answering this question, you see how utterly complex the entire system is.
I have a question, a little detour. Why is fame such a double-edged sword where people in this life tend to crave it or worship it, and the people who have it often say that that's not what they thought it was and don't enjoy it, in fact?
Because we would say the majority of humanity has no operating knowledge of how life is created. So you don't know and have never been taught that it's all a projection of what's inside you. Not only on that deep level of creation, like we explained the map from the source to the lens, the operating system, but also that when you get hurt, it's not anything outside yourself doing that to you and then creating that hurt. It's the hurt within you that's already there that is then being projected onto the lens of your world, and that affects how you're having that human experience. So many people who long to be famous were being driven by a projection that all of these people outside of them would give them the validation if they only worked harder, if they only performed well enough, if they only could prove themselves in the physical world. And that isn't in and of itself a bad thing, but if you come at it as a whole, complete human being and not someone who is trying to compensate for what they feel is a lack or projecting acceptance as something you get from other people, that if you came to it fully, deeply, richly whole, and look at people who are famous who don't seem to really care much, probably they brought that. It wasn't that kind of fame. And it's why when we were speaking of Diana, suggesting that you don't worship famous people, because when you get there and you realize, oh, all those things I thought were going to give me what I needed aren't. And now you've spent your whole life trying to accomplish this goal that you think is going to be, and you imagine and you're ideating about what you want to create. You imagine how it's going to be, and it's going to be this, and yet you cannot change the inner world by changing the outer world. You have to change the outer world first within self. And you find, especially in this day and age, in the world of quote unquote fame, that there are many, many, many people who would have preferred to walk the ordinary route without the trappings for their soul.
Do you have any suggestions how someone can connect with a past, future, or an in-between life?
Why, yes, of course. The first thing is to know yourself. So when we say that, we mean that you have intellect, you have emotion, and you have intuition. These are your three human dimensions. And as you learn about yourself and what is your intellect up to, what is it doing, what is it telling you, what are your emotions feeling, how are you processing them, what is intuition impelling you to do? As you get to know these parts of yourself, now you're tapping into the energy field that is intersecting with the past and the present and the future. So if you want to tap into a past life or a concurrent life, another timeline, if you spend some time away from the world in a bit of a meditation, it doesn't have to be that formal, but to first focus on your body and your own emotion, your own intuition, your own intellect, your physical body, your ability to witness yourself. And then you ask. You ask for other timelines to reveal themselves, and you see what comes up in your vision, how you feel about what comes up. Sometimes you can clearly see the difference between your imagination, just thinking about something, and then a big experience where emotion, intuition, and intellect are actually merging with you. Not just the thought and the idea, but the actual energy from that other life. And we also say that if you're looking to vision the future, there's a few things to remember. One is that it's a fluid energy. It's not, there may be some things set in stone, but there's also many, many things that you have been given free will about. So especially in this day and age where people are so evolving, the future isn't so clearly predictable, and a lot because it's your time to learn how to create it for yourself. So sometimes when you ask to see the future, it puts in maybe an unnecessary attachment to something happening in a particular way. And so that's why letting go of that expectation of attachment to what will happen, to grounding yourself in the present with great gratitude for the miracle that the present moment of life is, and then going from there to say, then you can do some, what we think might be just fun exercises in maybe perhaps before you're going to an event or somewhere, lying down and turning your focus inward and seeing if you can see what your imagination brings you. And don't be fooled, because imagination is the very place that you interface with this energy. So it feels like, well, it's just my imagination. Well, yes, that's the organ that you're using to have the experience. But repeat it, take notes, study over time, learn for yourself what this feeling in your body means and what that means. And always, always remember that it's a mystery.
I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on AI and how it may impact the world.
Well, keeping with this idea of creating your own future, and you've heard this story that there is a new earth being born, is that there are all kinds of potentials that may or may not happen using AI. We feel as if it is an expression of a greater spiritual truth, that all the information is there. All the information is there. And you have access to it. There is no privacy in afterlife. In fact, privacy becomes something that you give to someone because everything is so transparent. Everything is all one. And if you think about it, there's the separation of having your physical body and the computers across the table from you and your friends are across the country. And as you go into the non-physical and you sort of share space, even though you're across the country, you feel your spirits are in the same place. And as you get farther and farther into that part of your gravitational wave that hooks up with the Earth's electromagnetic field, now you're really, really separated. And as you go back into the North Pole and back into yourself, now you're all one with everyone who's ever been, who ever will be. So how do you wrap your head around where in that whole spectrum that you are? And so it's why there's those separations, so you can learn. Otherwise, it's a great, great mass of major information. And this is what AI is created from. Now, there's always going to be those institutions and those humans who want to use things for the good of the few at the expense of the many. And AI certainly can work into that. But we see it as an adjunct and an adaptation for humans to be able to understand the power of their true nature, which is all of this amazing kind of data manipulation and creation. So you only have to create your new earth. It's all that you can do to have your own definition, your own relationship to it, and be a part of those who are creating the greatest good with it.
Thank you. I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think it's a very valuable tool, and I think it's what you do with it. And like you said, there are going to be, and there's always going to be individuals who are going to try to take advantage of that and take advantage of people. We're never going to get rid of that. It's always going to be here to some degree. So it is a valuable tool. I've been playing around with it myself recently, and it's fascinating the knowledge that it gives me and different perspectives that it gives me. It's actually helping my evolution.
Yes.
Yeah. So just be careful. Use it wisely.
Yes. And the more that you do expose it to these incredible, miraculous theories, ideas, experiments that you do, the more it grows from those things as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Would you agree that when we come to a decision in life, especially major life decisions, that when we choose either to go left or right, let's say as an example, if we go right, then there's an aspect of us that quite literally in different space, different dimension, is playing out the other decision?
Well, there are two ways to look at that. One is that the other decision plays out anyway in the potentials, and there's not just one or two. It's usually not just a binary, but oftentimes it is. But what brings, should I turn right or should I turn left? I'm going to turn right. And your intellect activates your right hand to grab the steering wheel and turn your car to the right. And that guides the manifestation of your physical experience. Obviously you're projecting and you're perceiving, right? All of the mathematics of how things are going to play out as per your compilation. But within your compilation is this, it's not even a nanoparticle of all the potentials. Don't go straight. Stop and go back. All of those exist within that, but it's your intention and then your decision and the action that gets taken, that's what forms the physical world around you. And when you do turn right, you activate a whole set of mathematics for turning right. Now, maybe somewhere in this process that you're doing, there's a bigger plan for you to, if you turn right, you're going to meet up coincidentally with this person that you've been meaning to see. So if that's in play and you turn left, it doesn't mean that won't happen. It just means there's a whole readjustment maybe of how that might happen. Maybe you won't see that person at that street corner. Maybe you'll see them over there at that meeting. So everything is so complex, and yet it's all predicated on your perception, your intention, and your decisions.
So we are creating everything every second of every day. We are creating all of these different scenarios. We are creating everything that is happening in all of our lives going on at the same time. And there's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's the creation of everything and experiencing everything. Is that right?
Yes, but you see yourself a part of that. Your physical body is the creator and the perceiver, but there's a whole bigger operating system that's very complicated that you're plugged into that you really don't face it. You really don't know quite how it operates, that you can be the center point of this human life that is a physical body in this incredible physical garden in this world. So it's both having to take responsibility for your life fully and then surrendering that how the operating system works is that you are part of a grander design that you surrender into.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, the planet seems to be engrossed in a lot of conflict. And to bring peace, we have things like voting, we have things like protesting, things that people do to become loud to say that they want change. But there seems to be a fatigue that happens with that when you feel like those things aren't working anymore. How can we help and continue to be peace activists when the tools that we think we have, we suspect aren't working?
Well, much like the question about fame, is that for the history of humanity, the modern world that you live in, including voting, it's a relatively new thing that so many cultures did not have that. So looking at your current world and the present world and the conflicts and how they're playing out and how you as humans have addressed them, all purposeful, no judgment on any of them, but it gets back down to if you are not internally aligned to compassion and peace, it won't matter how many times you go out to protest, because generally protesting is about being against something, about having a right and a wrong, about an us versus them. And while that may be true on a superficial level, you don't want to be a literal Nazi, you don't want to be a serial killer, you don't want to be those kinds of humans until you, first of all, understand the power that you have and that whether you like it or not, you're wielding it. If you are completely projecting your fear onto the other side and you're completely sure that here's all the things that they're going to harm you with, now you're engaged in a lower level system. When you face that same reality saying, well, I'm creating this entire thing for purpose and it's starting with me. So where are these external conflicts that I see that I think I have to go out and face, like windmills? Where are they originating in me? And imagine, as Princess Diana said in her first interview, if everyone who marched in the street thinking that they were supporting justice by opposing the other side did that work first, the shift that happens organically, because that's the nature of how reality is created. Whatever is inside you, you're projecting, whether it's the general agape, trees, computers, humanity, or it's the intricate, intimate anger, sadness, joy. Whatever you're projecting is what you're creating and experiencing. And we believe that the changing truth about these external things is necessary for humanity not to continue to think, I don't have to do any of this personal work, but if I go vote for the right person, I'm going to be able to change the world. It has to sort of begin to crumble and kind of force humanity into the corner to say, well, there's no other options. We've done this and this and this, and it doesn't seem to help. Well, how about this? How about starting within you and starting in your own personal world and let it generate out from there? So you're not trying to fix the war in Iran, which you have absolutely no control over. You're trying to bring peace first to yourself, and then that will gravitate out to your relationships, to your family, and that will gravitate out to other people that they are touching, and that will gravitate out to your community. And everywhere you go, you become an example and an inspiration for others to continue to do this kind of work. And that's why all of you are here. You've been set up in these lives to go through all of this personally. Isn't that how you found out that you had the power within you to change, when you quit trying to change the people around you and trying to affect the circumstances of things that you could not control? And so we see this as a very positive, powerful time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do you have any final message that you would like to give people that are listening to this?
Yes, we just want to remind everyone that we understand, especially those of us who have been human. And that's one part of why the party came together, is because as incredible and magnificent the angelic and the divine presence is, to have been human is the whole point. And so we bring to the table the actual empirical experience and the compilation of consciousness of being human, and how important how we be human is. And we know how frustrating it can be as you look around you and you see all of this conflict going on in the world around you, and you're frustrated and afraid and concerned. We see and know that. However, do not underestimate all that we have talked about. Don't underestimate the importance of you doing this intricate, intimate work in your own self, of revolving your focus back to you, standing up and saying, I'm going to take responsibility for my inner conflicts. Where am I not feeling my feelings? Where are my intellectual messages degrading me or running roughshod over the system? Where am I losing touch of my intuition? And as you begin to shift and align to compassion, you will naturally manifest the synchronicity that you can't create going straight at the arena in which the conflict is being expressed. And as you do that and you have your aha moments, you begin to build on that truth and you become addicted to it. And soon you're not going to argue. You're not going to operate in the old way. You're going to be the one that's unifying and demonstrating the new way. And it's all about being human. Thank God you know how to do that. And when you do that, you will only need to watch and be amazed. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. How you feel?
Energized.
Yay.
Excited.
That was
Happy.
wonderful.
That was really, really good.
Great questions. Really great questions. High IQ outfit here.
Thank you.
We're still practicing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know, me too.
that was very good. That answered quite a bit of questions, and I hope, well, I don't hope, I know that that's going to help other people to hear that, because people are struggling right now, and it breaks my heart. And people just want some peace and they want to know what's going on. And yeah, it was a good message. Thank you so much, Barbara.
And isn't there a kind of a relief of, I know there was for me when I learned how I was codependent and how not to be codependent.
Yeah.
Like there was this relief that it was like, oh, I don't have to take care of everybody.
Exactly.
Really? Could that be true?
Can I let go of that? What will happen if I let go of that? Yeah.
Oh my God. And also Einstein used to say a lot, and I'd say in conflict revolution workshops, it's like, we do not have to stop being control freaks.
Thank God.
Because I know. It's just when we know what is ours to control, and then we get freakish about it, it accelerates everything. It's like, I'm no longer going to project my anger onto anybody. I don't care. I don't care what the situation is. It's really hard when you get triggered and you're in a thing with somebody and they're not at this level where they want to turn inward and they're coming at you. It's like a whole different set of getting used to reactions that I'm having. These past couple of years of getting into conflicts and then just not being able to fight. Like, I can't get into the he said, she said, or you were this, or I was that, or I'm going to say that. It's like, I just have a whole different way of dealing. And people either, when you do this work, they either disappear because they don't want to do it, or they rise to the occasion. And it's just fascinating.
It's very fascinating. We are living in some very interesting times right now. And I just feel so blessed to be here. Sometimes I curse it and I go, well, what the hell am I doing here? Beam me up, Scotty. But at the same time, it's like, wow, what an amazing opportunity to be able to go through this right now.
Yeah. And be the ones that are leading it.
Yeah.
Like from the kitchen table. That's how I say it.
Exactly.
Like that's the most powerful.
I think keeping the sense of humor about everything too.
Very
important.
Key.
Very important.
Lost without it.
I know. Me too. Me too. Last winter, I drove taxi cab.
Oh, wow.
In Madison, Wisconsin. And
oh my God.
Whole nother conversation.
In the winter?
A mission.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
A lot of homeless people, a lot of people from the hospital. So, but that's a whole thing. But my whole thing about that was, because I'm like you, I've been on the road since I was 17 and had all kinds of highway stuff. But my approach is that I'm this just really, like, I'm the one that's, okay, oh, somebody's coming up here. Okay, I'm going to, come on in. Okay. And I'm always like letting people in and smiling at them and waving at them and slowing down and just being that person who wants everything to work out. Yeah. It's so different. It doesn't make anybody else drive better, but it just puts me in that place of calm and like.
What is it going to take to step on the brake and let somebody in front of you?
I know.
I mean, really.
Like, this is mine. I'm in here first. No, it's like, come on.
I don't want to let you in front of me. Are you crazy?
What's that?
You're going to make me 2 seconds late.
Exactly. I'm going to make your life difficult.
And have you ever done that where you're in traffic and you find yourself like, oh, and then you stop and go, wait a minute. Let's do this little experiment. And you close your eyes and you start to breathe and you see the traffic moving and then it moves 9 times out of 10.
I do that with traffic lights.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
I get green lights a lot just because I imagine green light.
Yeah.
Where I live, it's about parking because there's no parking ever. Yeah. And when my dad passed away, he was a detective. He was a police officer, but he always found parking when he was alive. It was hilarious. And after he passed away, my mom and I would always find it was like, okay, we're just going to call on Dad anytime we need parking. And that has worked for the last 10 years.
I believe you. He's like your parking angel.
Exactly. His only job right now is to find parking.
Oh my gosh. You guys are great.
You guys have any other questions?
You were wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I have a million questions, but I don't want to waste her time with them right now.
Well, I'll come back.
You have to come back.
Good, please.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
please.
I love you guys. It's just, we were brought together.
Yes.
For sure.
I know.
Oh, the world needs this stuff so bad right now, you guys.
I know.
It really does.
Yep.
I need
It's not
this
the
stuff
first
right
time
now.
in the world that it's happened this way. We've been through this before in different lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we're made for this. And I like when you said, sometimes it's like, beam me up, Scotty. This is just too much. And then they actually said, yeah, but then when you get here, you're like, well, wait a minute. This isn't quite the same as what I thought it was going to be.
Send me back.
Send me back.
I want to be tortured some more.
I look at it now. Now I look at it like a video game. Like you're in the game and you're playing and your avatar is doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden your avatar gets killed, and you're like, huh, I guess I'll just build another avatar. You know, I mean, it's not a big deal.
It's not like, oh, great, glad that game's over. Now I'm done. It's like,
No.
no.
Do it again. Start over.
Yeah, I know. For many, many years, I said, there's no way in hell I'm coming back here. Once I'm done, I'm done. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough money or, give me as many angel wings as you want. I'm not coming back here, and
you're first in line. I'm pretty sure you're first in line to keep
now I've kind of changed my mind on that. I mean, it's hard. And it's been hard, and it's probably going to be, challenging moving forward. But to be in the middle of all of this, experiencing it, knowing full well that this is not real, right? This is an illusion, and we're just having a game here.
Yeah, it's all a game.
Yeah. And
all the world's a stage.
Yes. And it makes it a lot more tolerable. So, I just may be back. When I pass away, I want to come back as an extraterrestrial, as the extraterrestrial that's on the spaceship that I'm a part of. And she's going to come out of her stasis, and she's going to come down to the Earth and help with the whole disclosure thing. And, and we're going to create a whole new world.
She's going to end up at the foot of my bed and scare the crap out of me, isn't she?
Yeah, pretty much.
Here we go. This is how it starts.
This is it. This is why it happens.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
signature.
So let's wrap this up.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to think a little deeper and to see the world through a new perspective. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and many of your favorite podcast platforms. And if you enjoyed today's episode with Barbara, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. Now, Barbara, how can people get in touch with you?
BarbaraWith.com. I've got a Conflict Revolution Challenge up in the right-hand corner of my website. I've got the coupon code Barbara50 if you want some money off a reading. Got master classes, music, everything's over there.
Cool. Excellent.
All right. Until next time, keep an open mind, stay curious, and remember, you never know where the next great conversation might lead. We love you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.